The sun rose gently, casting golden light upon the land. The Buddha sat calmly beneath a large Bodhi tree. A soft breeze carried the scent of flowers, whispering through the air. I approached the Buddha, my heart heavy with unanswered questions. Bowing deeply, I seated myself at his feet, seeking guidance. Master, I began, my voice trembling slightly with emotion. I struggle to understand why I attract difficult and unkind people. The Buddha opened his eyes slowly, his gaze calm and filled with compassion. My child, he said, look to the pond nearby and describe what you see. I turned my head, glancing at the tranquil waters of the nearby pond. The pond is still and clear, I said. It reflects the trees, the clouds, and even myself. The Buddha nodded, a faint smile touching his lips. What happens then, he asked, if the surface of the pond is disturbed by wind or stone? I thought for a moment and replied, the reflection becomes fragmented, unclear, and distorted. The Buddha folded his hands, his demeanor serene and steady. The pond, my child, mirrors life itself, he began. When the mind is calm and the heart pure, the world reflects peace. However, when turmoil resides within, the reflection distorts. Your question, my dear, begins not with others but within your own heart and mind. I listened closely, each word sinking deep into my consciousness. The Buddha continued, his voice smooth and melodic like a steady river. In life, people come to us as reflections of the energy we carry within. They are drawn to what they perceive. If your heart holds pain, unresolved anger, or fear, you might attract those who resonate similarly. But Master, I interrupted, how can one truly change what lies within? The Buddha raised his hand gently, his palm outward in a gesture of patience. Transformation, my child, begins with awareness and self-reflection, he said. You must first observe the currents of your mind, like a gardener tending to weeds. I nodded, absorbing his words, feeling their truth resonate in me. How does one start this journey of self-reflection? I asked earnestly. The Buddha turned toward the pond, his gaze resting on its serene surface. Begin by observing without judgment, he said. Ask yourself if your actions, thoughts, and desires create harmony or discord. Peace begins not with attempting to control others, the Buddha continued, but in nurturing the calm within yourself. He paused, allowing his words to settle deeply in the air between us. Imagine the pond again, he said. You cannot control the birds or leaves that touch its surface, but you can maintain its clarity by attending to its depths. I inhaled deeply, the fragrant air around us filling my lungs. Master, does this mean we must remove ourselves from those who disturb our peace? I asked. The Buddha shook his head slightly, his expression kind. Not always, my child, he replied. There is wisdom in discerning when to stay and when to leave. However, he added, even in the presence of challenging companions, you have the power to maintain your own tranquility. The pond reflected the rippling breeze, mirroring our presence beneath the Bodhi tree. Your energy is the soil from which your relationships grow, he said. Tend to your energy like a precious garden. As I listened, a new understanding began to form within me. The Buddha turned back toward me, his gaze steady and warm. You must learn the art of observing yourself, he said. Within this observation lies the key to transformation. Master, I said, my voice soft yet firm. How does one distinguish between observing and judging oneself? The Buddha leaned slightly forward, his hands resting gently on his knees. Judgment divides and attaches labels of right or wrong, he explained. Observation sees without adding or subtracting, only noticing what is. Through observation, he continued, you come to understand the roots of your suffering and joy without entanglement. I nodded, the complexity of his words unraveling slowly in my mind. What must I focus on first in this practice? I asked, eager for clarity. Begin with the emotions that stir strongest within you, the Buddha replied. They are like waves upon the surface of your being. His words painted vivid images in my mind, as if each phrase became a stroke of light upon water. Emotions are not enemies, he said, but they must be understood to guide you toward peace. The Buddha gestured once more to the pond, its gentle ripples shimmering under the sunlight. Within the waters of the pond lie both clarity and reflection, he said. Learn from its stillness and movement alike. His metaphor touched my soul, awakening new perspectives I had not yet grasped. The disciples carried the Buddha's words with them as they continued their journey, the teachings lingering like fragrant petals in the wind. Each step they took was filled with reflection, as their hearts and minds grew like the wildflowers nourished by the cracked pot. His words embraced me like the gentle wind, surrounding me with wisdom and warmth. I felt a quiet determination rising within to begin this journey of reflection and growth. The Buddha stood gracefully, his hands pressed together in a gesture of unity. Go, my child, he said, and tend to the garden of your heart with patience and care. As he walked toward the horizon, his steps light as feathers, his presence lingered in the air. I remained by the pond, watching the lotus flowers bloom gently in the soft sunlight. Each petal seemed to hold the essence of his teachings, unfurling wisdom into the world. With a deep breath, I vowed to tend to my inner garden and honor the lessons I had received. Another day, the sun rose over the village, painting the sky in delicate shades of orange and lavender. The Buddha walked with his disciples through a narrow path bordered by tall trees swaying gently. A faint aroma of jasmine lingered in the morning air as villagers greeted them respectfully. As we walked, my mind was clouded with unease, a storm of thoughts swirling within. Unable to contain myself, I spoke. Master, I began hesitantly. I feel consumed by the energy of others, often drained by their presence. The Buddha stopped and turned, his gaze calm yet searching, and motioned for us to sit near a flickering lamp. Observe the flame, the Buddha said, his tone steady and grounding. What do you notice about its nature? My child? I leaned in, watching as the flame swayed, its golden light illuminating the contours of his face. The flame dances brightly, I replied. It seems to draw the moths, who are captivated by its glow. The Buddha nodded slowly, his hands resting gently on his knees. Indeed, he said, but the moth's attraction is not solely the fault of the flame. Thank you, Blessed One, Ananda said softly. I will strive to see the beauty and strength that arise from life's struggles. I furrowed my brow, trying to grasp the deeper meaning behind his words. Master, I asked, does this mean the moth seeks the flame because it is weak? The Buddha raised his hand, signaling patience, his expression thoughtful. Like the lotus, your spirit will rise above, untainted by the mud below. The disciples bowed in unison, their minds filled with resolve to embrace their own journeys and grow through the trials they faced. He continued, much like the moth, people are drawn to energy that resonates with their own nature or fulfills their desire. The flame flickered as the wind picked up briefly, and the Buddha shifted slightly to face us all. The energy you carry, my child, is a light within you, attracting those who seek its warmth or brightness. But Master, I said, what if the energy within me only brings those who deplete or harm me? The Buddha's gaze softened, and he reached for a small stick to adjust the lamp's wick. The flame cannot choose the moth, he explained, but it can remain steady and bright regardless of who is drawn near. Your energy is like the flame, he said. It reflects your inner balance, your compassion, or your unresolved struggles. He placed the stick aside, leaning slightly forward, his eyes glimmering with wisdom. Observe the flame, he instructed. It neither chases nor rejects the moth but simply continues to shine. I found myself mesmerized by the simplicity and power of his analogy. The Buddha's words seemed to cleanse my mind like a soft rain over dry land. Master, I said, how does one protect the inner flame from being consumed by others' energy? The Buddha reached for a nearby clay pot filled with water. Consider this, he said, pouring the water steadily into a smaller bowl. The bowl holds as much as it can contain. He stopped pouring. Looking up, if the bowl overflows, it cannot nourish the plants without spilling and wasting its contents. I nodded, understanding the metaphor as he placed the pot aside gently. To protect your inner flame, the Buddha continued, you must first recognize your limits and create boundaries with compassion. His voice carried the depth of the river, flowing yet grounded in wisdom. Boundaries are not walls, my child, he clarified, but guidelines for how you share your light with others. The morning sun broke through the trees, casting long shadows over the ground as his teaching unfolded. If you give your energy without discernment, he said, you risk depleting yourself and losing the strength to shine. He paused, his gaze lingering on the flickering flame. It is not selfishness, he added, but wisdom to care for your light. A soft breeze caressed my face, and I felt the weight of his words settle within. The Buddha turned toward me, his presence both comforting and instructive. My child, he said, learn to observe your own light and its interaction with others without judgment. His tone invited stillness, urging reflection. When you meet someone who drains your energy, he said, ask if it is their actions or your response that exhausts you. The sound of rustling leaves filled the space as he let the question linger in the air. Clarity comes, he said, not from avoiding others but from understanding yourself deeply. I took a deep breath, the crisp morning air filling my lungs. Master, I asked, what if I wish to guide those who are drawn to me? The Buddha smiled faintly, his gaze filled with a gentle warmth. The flame guides by simply being what it is, he said. You do not guide others by diminishing your light, he added, but by remaining true to your essence. His words felt like a quiet ripple in a still pond, spreading outward to touch unseen shores. Let your energy become an invitation, not an imposition, the Buddha continued. Allow others the freedom to come and go. The disciples around us nodded, absorbing his teachings as though they were nourishment for their souls. And remember, he said, some will come to your light to heal, while others may come to take without giving. He held up a hand, his fingers gently outstretched as if to emphasize balance. The flame is not diminished by understanding this truth, he said. Instead, it grows stronger in its clarity and purpose. A sense of peace washed over me as his words took root in my heart. I could feel my perspective beginning to shift and expand. The Buddha rose gracefully, the folds of his robe moving like water around him. Walk with me, he said, gesturing for us to follow. We walked in silence, the sound of our footsteps blending with the rustle of leaves. The flame of the lamp burned steadily behind us, its light unwavering. Life is like this journey, the Buddha said as we moved forward. Each step reveals new truths about yourself and others. I walked beside him, feeling the rhythm of his steps, the strength of his presence guiding me. Master, I said, how can we learn to honor our light while embracing the differences in others? The Buddha paused, turning to face the group under the shade of a large banyan tree. Embrace others as they are, he said, without losing sight of who you are. His words resonated deeply, their simplicity carrying profound wisdom that echoed within me. I bowed deeply, feeling gratitude swell within me as I rose. The Buddha placed his hand lightly on my shoulder, his touch gentle yet firm. Tend to your flame, he said softly. In its strength and steadiness, you will find the wisdom to navigate all connections. As we continued our journey, The morning grew brighter, the sun climbing higher in the sky. I carried his words within me, a flame now steady and bright, illuminating my path forward. His teachings lingered in the air, a silent echo that guided my steps and heart. Another day. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. The Buddha stood quietly among blooming flowers, their fragrance filling the crisp morning air. Disciples gathered around him, their faces reflecting eagerness to learn. I walked closer, carrying questions that weighed on my heart. Master, I began, bowing deeply. I struggled to cultivate peace within myself and attract harmony in my surroundings. The Buddha turned toward me, his serene gaze full of compassion, and gestured for us to follow him to the garden. The garden was lush and vibrant, every flower a testament to the care it had received. The Buddha knelt beside a bed of delicate blossoms, his robes flowing like water around him. Observe these flowers, he said. What makes them bloom in beauty and strength? I glanced at the blooms, noticing their radiant colors and firm stems. They thrive because of the sun, the soil, and the care of the gardener, I replied. The Buddha smiled gently, his hand brushing the petals of a lotus. Exactly, he said, the garden reflects the energy given to it by those who tend it. He paused, allowing his words to sink deeply into my thoughts. Your heart, my child, is like this garden, he continued. It must be tended with care and intention. I listened closely, each word resonating like a melody in the stillness of the morning. Master, I asked, how does one tend to the garden of the heart? The Buddha picked up a small rake, drawing gentle lines in the soil near the flowers. You must first remove the weeds, he said, for they choke the life of the blossoms. These weeds, he continued, are like resentment, fear, and envy, which overshadow the beauty within you. His voice was steady and soothing, each word carrying depth. To remove them, he said, you must practice mindfulness, observing your thoughts without judgment and releasing those that do not serve you. I took a deep breath, the scent of the garden filling my senses. Master, I asked, how does one prevent these weeds from returning? The Buddha poured water onto the roots of a flower, his actions deliberate and graceful. Nurture the soil with kindness, patience, and wisdom, he said. As you cultivate these virtues, he added, your heart becomes fertile ground for love and understanding to grow. His words painted vivid images in my mind, each phrase becoming a stroke of light upon the garden. But remember, he said, the gardener must work continuously, for weeds are persistent. The sun climbed higher in the sky, its warm rays casting long shadows over the garden. Master, I asked, how does one attract harmony in relationships? The Buddha stood, his presence commanding yet gentle, and pointed toward a bed of colorful flowers. Consider these flowers, he said. They do not chase the bees or butterflies, yet they attract them naturally. Your energy is like the fragrance of the flowers, he continued. It draws others to you based on what you exude. His metaphor touched my soul, awakening new perspectives I had not yet grasped. Look beyond the shadow, and you will find its source. Deepak's confusion softened as a glimmer of understanding took root. It simply remains true to itself. His words carried profound wisdom, urging me to reflect deeply. You cannot control who is drawn to your energy, he continued. But you can choose how to respond. As he spoke, I felt a quiet determination rising within to begin this journey of cultivation. The Buddha stood gracefully, his movements fluid like the flowing river. Come, he said, leading us to a shaded area beneath a large tree. The disciples followed, their steps quiet and reverent, under the canopy of leaves. The Buddha gestured toward the earth. The garden teaches us patience, he said, for blossoms do not grow overnight. His words reminded me of the slow yet steady rhythm of nature. a cycle of growth and renewal. Master, I asked, how do we know when the garden within us is thriving? The Buddha smiled faintly, his gaze warm and knowing. A thriving garden does not boast, he said, but radiates peace and harmony naturally. His words embraced me like the gentle wind, surrounding me with wisdom and warmth. Your relationships will reflect the energy you carry, he added, like the blossoms reflecting the care they receive. I bowed deeply, feeling gratitude swell within me as I rose. The Buddha placed his hand lightly on my shoulder, his touch comforting yet firm. My child, he said softly, tend to your garden with patience and care, and it shall blossom beautifully. As the morning grew brighter, the sun climbing higher in the sky, I carried his words within me. Each step forward felt lighter, as though the wisdom of his teachings had begun to lift the weight I carried. The garden of my heart, once shadowed with weeds, now felt like fertile ground for growth. Your intention to heal is a beginning, a spark of light. Arjun appeared unconvinced. Walking back toward the village, the fragrance of the blooms remained with me, a reminder of the journey ahead. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.